I'm here with Doug Oberhelman. Good morning.
Good morning, Carol. How are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
How do you think things are going in Washington right now? You've been down to Washington.
I've spent 4 days of the last 10 in Washington. It's quite an interesting process. It's government at work. They call it sausage making. It's not very pretty, and that's very true.
Interesting process, productive process. Are we going to meet the deadline, Doug, or will we fall off the fiscal cliff?
No, I really believe we'll meet the deadline. We spent several meetings with Republican leaders, Democratic leaders, President Obama himself, the White House staff. Everybody understands how serious this is. Nobody wants to go over this cliff, and they all believe that it can be avoided. And I believe it, because there's enough negotiating going on, I guess, to get us there.
What do you think is going to be the outcome in terms of taxes and spending? What do you think we'll see come January 1?
Hard to say at this point, but taxes are going up in some cases.
Corporate and individual?
Well, I would say individual for sure are going up on the upper 2 income brackets in some form or fashion, and that's to be hashed out. And there will be spending cuts and entitlement reform. Both sides agree with it. Remember, the fiscal cliff here is a point in time, a date.
Right.
The biggest problem is beyond that. What happens in the next 10 years as our debt chews up so much of the economy, and then as interest to serve the debt chews up even more. We strand people that need our government the most. We can't let that happen. Everybody understands that in Washington.
Doug, I think so many times we think you folks from the business community go down to Washington to talk with the president and his senior advisors, and it's just a photo op. You're saying it's not a photo op.
I don't think it's a photo op. We've had enough interchange, genuine interchange with all parties. They listened to us, we listened to them. It was a dialogue. I am absolutely convinced they understand we cannot go over the cliff. Who knows if we go over the cliff, what's going to happen? Nobody.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because when you and I talked back in August, we were at your training facility in Illinois. I said to you kind of, what's the bad news? What could be the bad case scenario? And you said the bad news is we could go back to 2008, 2009. You gave us an updated forecast in October. It was a little sobering, but you did call for a recession here in the U.S. You still don't think that will happen?
No.
Even if we go over the cliff?
No. Well, I don't know. No one knows. But right now, I'm assuming we don't go over the cliff. There's a budding economy underneath this one in the United States. China is showing some signs of life. Europe is no worse. So we said about 2013, more or less the same as 2012 at this point. No global recession, no worldwide recession, certainly recession in some parts of Europe. I don't think we're going to see one here. It's not our base case. In fact, it's really not in our planning at all today.
We'll see. You talked about China. It's not your biggest market, but you guys are investing heavily in China. We know that. The government came out and talked about the focus on urbanization. Is that good for you guys, for Caterpillar?
It's good for us. Urbanization brings a lot of infrastructure requirements. And we've seen it the last 10 years in China, which has helped us. The good news about China that we tend to lose because of the slowdown we've seen, they're going to grow up by plan 7.5% to 8.5%. 4 times our rate,
right?
7 to 8 times Europe. We have to be there. Biggest market in the world. We have got to participate there and be a leader in China. So what we've seen in 2012 is them drop from a 12 to 14% growth rate almost to 0,
right,
to get back to an average of 7.5. And that's what has got us all watching that very, very carefully. I was there in October. Positive stories. Nothing concrete yet, but certainly a different attitude there. And I'm convinced we're going to see a change here, a positive change in the next few months. I'm pretty optimistic about China. Not in a big boom like we've seen, but certainly recovery.
Just got one last question. You have done a lot of acquisitions since you've come on board, more than $10 billion worth, Doug. What about for 2013? Do you think you might be doing some acquiring?
I don't think we'll be doing much. Our company for years was in the neighborhood of $1 billion to $1.5 billion in acquisitions, small ones. I think that's where we'll be for a while. We had 3 really unique opportunities. We jumped at them.
Right.
And we're going to make them pay.
Osiris,
MWM, and EMD, the locomotive company. We like them all, and they're going to be good for us long term. But there's not anything on the horizon today of that scale. But there'll be smaller things that we'll add here and there that we like. We announced a big joint venture yesterday, for example, in frac pumps. It'll be a great one for us down the road.
The market you're most excited about right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, assuming no fiscal cliff, which I'm assuming, the U.S. will look pretty good in 2013. Not great, but not bad. China, I think, will look better. I was just in Brazil. I'm very confident they've got 2 years of pretty good news coming up there. Not great boom anywhere, but certainly better than we've seen and better than we're seeing right here in December this month, for sure.
All right, we got to leave it there. Doug, thank you so much. I always appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Doug Oberhelman of Caterpillar.